And, to say that the school did nothing is a lie. They knew about this from 2019, and they have been actively working to educate the students while having our state aid reduced. Governor Murphy did let them know that this was a program that was over 7 years, that they were going to be reducing that money a little bit each year. It wasn't that they just laid down the gauntlet and said, figure it out. They said they were going to do it over several years. Do I agree with what they did? No, but this is what they did. So again, and to say that the school, because I was on the Board of Ed, so I take this very personally, to say that the school and the Board of Ed and the superintendent didn't do their due diligence is a lie.
Back off a couple of things. It really wouldn't hurt to probably look into legal action, considering there's, how many districts that are going through this and potentially band together. I mean, you have Jackson, Brick, Lakewood, Little Egg Harbor, Lacey, there's all of us going through it. We could be, everybody collectively putting their minds together and a little bit of funds to maybe push back on some of this. I know Tom's River is, filing a lawsuit against the state. We moved here 12 years, almost 13 years ago, and the school system was very different for my son than it did for my daughter. And I just hate to go backwards. But I also, I can't realistically afford to keep increasing taxes. There was a mom that mentioned the taxes are low here. It's because we haven't been reassessed. Be careful what you wish for there, because it's around the corner and it hasn't been done in, probably 30 years. So we're going to get hit. I mean, there's people that pay $19,000 of taxes in this district. So, and that's without the reassessment. So I would just hope that you consider, I've sent emails. Some people have answered. Some people have been a little snarky. I would, I maybe tone that down a little. I'm just trying to be practical and maybe think outside of the box a little bit, like a lot of us. And we deserve to have a say. I think this would have been nice to know about before a couple of weeks ago, just so that we could all, give some suggestions. Or, you're talking about making a vote tonight. We could have talked about, what are the other districts doing, the S2 districts, and work together. So all I can say is, as far as, cuts, I would consider cutting either the summer school program if you're not going to allow children to test out of it, because right now it just requires attendance. If you're going to change that, I was told it might change in curriculum. Put that responsibility on the parent. It's like $30,000, every little bit adds up, and not the taxpayer. If the parent has a hardship, just like, other things, have them fill out an application, see what you can do for that specific parent. The vending machine cost, I had mentioned that. I know Mr. Slade and I have that in common with the constant spending of our kids with the vending machines. Increase the price. If it's 25% that, with all these vending machines in the district, increase the price of the products to make a couple bucks off of them. And I'm all for pay to play. I've said it with the late buses, and I feel the same way about sports. Most of us, especially by middle school, high school, we're already paying for privates and travel and everything else. So if we have to pay for baseball right now because it means to save the taxpayer a little bit of money, then that's what it means, because, that's just a small amount in comparison to paying, a few extra grand in taxes. So that was it. Thank you. And I know this isn't an easy decision, and I know it isn't a quick decision for you guys, but it is a quick thought process for us, and I feel like the stakeholders are like an afterthought. And so I would appreciate a little more transparency and sooner. Thank you. And I did listen to what Dr. Toohey was saying as far as basically latchkey kids, right? That's what it sounds like. I mean, I was an 80s kid, so I was a latchkey kid. Very neglected, alcoholic father, no mother. So I can relate to that child. And I just wish that maybe we could, create a committee to find a different maybe avenue to help kids like that maybe like the peer. I remember that when my daughter was young, like the peer group or something that might benefit them and us financially. Different avenues, my point. The Old Bridge app costing money, because I don't get any push notifications. I check it pretty often. I don't get push notifications. There aren't really timely announcements, and if it's costing money, maybe just toss it. To be honest, I think the stuff that I pay attention to the most as far as announcements is when Mr. Citadino calls and leaves a message and texts us. That's the one I pay attention to more than all the emails and the PTA, Twitter stuff. That's just a thought. Maybe we could save money there. The planetarium, I know this is really late tonight, but I would honestly love to hear what the idea is as far as how much revenue that could potentially be, that could help us. And the devices, I mean, are these going to be necessary forever? Are they saving us money then using textbooks? Are the children benefiting from it? So, and then also I know Ms. D'Antonio mentioned going above the $17 million, but why not? Why? So that was it. I just, again, thank you all for taking all the time, and I do ask a lot of questions, and I know you guys do too, but I just don't know if they're the same questions, so I just feel better. I like clarity. I ask questions, so thank you again. Hi, Brooke Richards-Patterson. I just had a question. Have we heard anything from the state regarding that levy application? That was it.
So we did hear back from the state. There was correspondence throughout July, August from the state. We did ultimately get approval of all 23 million. Well, 22 plus the one. That letter that we got from the state is currently online on our website. It's under the budget section. I think it's finance and budget. It's just a little one-page letter. Essentially approves the approval of the $23 million in total.
Late buses, I know you're working on a modified return, but is there an alternative if funds don't work out? Because we're already past the funding part. We already know that the challenging decisions, having to cut that, but we had a giant meeting about this with parents involved and giving suggestions. We're going to take any like pay to play, right? An alternative if this whole budget thing doesn't work out. All I keep writing down multiple times is long-range planning. To piggyback on what Mr. Magatessis is talking about is transparency, right? We're paying, another $8,000 increase in real time? Let's send out some alerts with that $8,000 and ask parents about this stuff. Make it known to them. And just even stakeholders in general. I mean, because this is not just impacting us. And to Mr. Slade's point, my kids are 10 years apart, so I know exactly what you're talking about as far as the difference. I even touched on that in Trenton. My daughter was in this, medical program in high school that got her to nursing school. My son's not going to see that. It's not going to see it. But we're also should be talking about long range. We know the health care benefits are going to go up 26% for our faculty members. So again, long range planning, we should start now. We could start by asking the departments, right? We could ask each department, hey, so-and-so, this is the percentage we're going to need to meet this amount. Talk to your respective members and give me a priority list. Let them have a say, and then if we just assume we're going to lose money next year, and then if we're lucky and we happen to get some funding, then hey, here's back, the more important stuff. Ask the parents, how about shops and vendors? Is real time going up $8,000? Well, that's a lot of money for 1 year to go up. So that's what I keep hearing is, and then the shifting of the blame, you guys do have meetings the same dates as the council. I try to make them too because I like to be involved and I like to know what's going on, and they're almost identical, the meetings. So, I think also you probably shouldn't be bashing them on your platform if you want to actually work together. One of them used to be a Board of Ed member, and she said at actually last week's meeting that she knew about, these S2 cuts, from when she was on the board. Where's the long range plan then? So, I feel for you guys because they're difficult, challenging decisions, but you need a long range plan. It's time to start. My name is Brooke Richards-Patterson. I just had a quick question. You guys were going over the miscellaneous, number 6, and I was just out of curiosity, honestly. I see there's like 4 different vendors that are going to be advertising at Lombardi, and I was just curious, what are we getting paid for that, and are we kind of pushing that out? Because that's obviously a great opportunity for fundraising for this district. That was it. Thank you.
These 3 actually are for whenever it was. They are renewals from last year. But we have typically over the summer we send out these letters to local businesses. Perhaps moving forward, we just put a template on our website so that people can see this and any district or anyone is looking. But I will send a sample letter to you as well so that you can share out if anyone's interested.
And then I also want to know about the planetarium, since there was talk about that and where we are, or are we waiting until October when all the redistricting stuff is touched on? Thank you.
I was asked to share some content as far as where I stand with the budget. So there's just so many pieces here. I tried to condense this as best I could. We got to 12 and a half minutes. There's a whole other video where I actually went to Trenton and said, let's take care of our own instead of bailing out places like Newark and Perth Amboy. We can't even afford $500,000 worth of late buses, but we're paying for catered lunches and dinners, expensive dinners up in Newark for after hours. We are helping fund, a beautiful new high school in Perth Amboy, but we are sitting here and asking the taxpayers to come out of their pockets just to keep the bare minimum of what we already have or what we're left with after doing these bailouts. So I have been very passionate. I've even posted reels trying to urge the public, you should be concerned, because it upsets me that there aren't real times going out about this stuff. It's always, this stuff is on the district website. This stuff is on the district website. The first person that really did something, that started to do something about it, is our interim superintendent. I really appreciate it. He put out a newsletter. I've posted that in another post. I try to keep them separate so that you can go to different topics. And I would just love for the school to be doing these kinds of announcements instead of me, just me. But that's who's here in the meantime.
I'll start the summer school piece. I'm not aware of the summer school piece being financed by the taxpayers, but I'll allow Dr. Tui to speak to that. Anything new on that, Dr. Tui?
So there's no elementary summer school program. In the past, there was a summer school program through the ESSER funds, which is used from the federally acquired funds by the district. My time's up. In middle school, we've had a summer school program since I think Mr. Cedino has been, was the principal at Sauk. That program runs every summer. For the past few years, it ran at both Sauk and Sandburg. There are qualifications. So a student has to attend a certain amount of the days. There are grades that are allotted. It is project-based. It is during the summer, so obviously most of the students don't want to be there, so we try to make it as interesting as possible. The teachers do a great job, and they should be commended for that. High school, they do online programs, so if you're going to do course advancement, you go through EduSeer or Rutgers Prep. There's also, for the seniors who are in danger of not graduating, Apex. Those are district-funded programs that we have all year round.
Thank you, Dr. Tui. As far as late buses, we did have that conversation. We look at that as we look every week. We get together as an administrative team and go over the district finances, the positions we're at, as we talked about last week. The administration works at the will of the board as when it comes to the budget. So as we put together a budget for this year, the current year that we're in, the 24-25 school year, we had a very public meeting about what was included in the budget, what was not included in the budget.
I want to know about summer school in terms of the budget. I did go to a committee meeting for the curriculum, and from my understanding, taxpayers are paying for children to attend summer school rather than their parents. And it was explained it's due to possible parents experiencing hardships. And although that is unfortunate, I do think ultimately a child, that is the adult's responsibility. And I think what was most disappointing, to be honest, was to learn that there is no particular thing that needs to be done in order to pass summer school. It almost seems like a waste of time and money on all parts because they just have to, show up and complete it and call it a day. I don't know that that's really, something that we should be considering in terms of our budget. I also was curious why there hasn't been any further discussion about a contingency plan in lieu of the loss of late buses. I also wanted to know if we've considered raising the rent over where the Cheesequake School is to make up a little bit of funding. Are qualified supervisors who are already on the payroll writing the curriculums, or are we outsourcing and paying somebody else to do it? And if so, how much does that cost? We're just paid a lot of money, and I care obviously very much about my child and everybody's children, their education, the quality of it. And I'd like to, be more transparent as far as the where the funds are going and what they're being used for. So that is all.